This video is a spotting and scouting, passive spotting map strategy for World of Tanks for the map El Halluf. And I am going to start with the north spawn. I know it looks very busy, but I'm going to clean it up a little bit as we start talking about it. So what I did was I identified popular spotting locations that other players use and that I like to use for the north spawn. These are identified by the green diamonds, and I identified popular locations where enemy tanks like to play on this map. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to review all these passive spotting locations, which means you're going to be sitting in a bush somewhere hiding. And we're going to look to see what their spotting potential is. Now, this is the most easiest position. And as you can see, this is the spotting range. And this position is not a very good position. You cannot spot the enemy tanks that are sniping from their side of the map. So you can't spot here and here and here. You can spot tanks that come over here and try to climb up the hill, but once they get to this position, they might be out of your view. But you'll be able to spot them when they're in this location, and you're going to spot anyone who advances across this field, which isn't that likely. It's the least likely situation. So this is where you're going to spot the least number of people is from that position. To remove some of the clutter, I'm going to delete these items. Okay, so let's move on to this position here. I often see light tanks in this position. It's also not a very good position. You can spot tanks that show up here, but you're also going to get spotted. You don't have a view of this area, so it's not good here. You do have a view of tanks that come over here, but tanks don't come over here very often, and even if they do, you won't have allies that will be able to shoot at them. And it can basically spot this road. You might be able to spot one tank if you play in this position, so this also is not a good position, and I am going to remove it from the map, again, to remove some of the clutter. So now we have a few more positions. This is a position that I've seen people play, and I've tried it. And I never liked it, and I tried it recently, and I've come to the conclusion that it's still not a good position. From here, you can spot tank destroyers that show up over here. There will be tank destroyers over here, and the reason why is because they can fire from here over to here. And they can back up their team if their team retreats. But they do have shots going across here. So there will be tank destroyers in this location. You might be able to spot a tank over here, I'm not sure. You can definitely spot tanks over here and spot tanks over here. However, your snipers are going to be far away. I've seen tanks receive damage in this position, but usually because I'm shooting at them. And I usually hope my allies shoot at them. These tanks are vulnerable. If you spot these tanks, they're going to take damage. But you can't spot the tanks over here or over here. You can't spot this area. You can't spot this area. So you're going to miss perhaps 50% of the spotting on this map if you take up this position. And what you gain is really over here. Because from this position, you can spot over here and over here. And these tanks are going to be spotted anyway. They're going to be proximity spotted. So this, I don't think, is a good position. I'm going to remove it from the map. You know what? I'm going to leave it there just because I know that people like to play that position. We can talk about it later. So let's talk about this position. This position is difficult to play because you're going to get spotted very easily. There's no bushes over here. You're going to get proximity spotted. You're going to get shot at. A lot of tanks die from playing in this position. You might be able to spot over here. You might not be able to spot this tank because there's a rock. You'll be able to spot here. You might proximity spot over here, but you're going to have trouble spotting this area because the slope of the land is not very good. This is not a good spotting position. I don't recommend it. This position is what I used when I play a heavy tank. I play a heavy tank. It's slow to get over to here, and it's big. So you're going to get spotted, so you need to hide behind the slope of the land. From here, you can spot these tanks over here and you can fire at them. Maybe you can spot tanks over here and you can snipe it. You can definitely snipe at these tanks. Maybe you can spot tanks over here and shoot at them. This is a good sniping position. You can spot this tank. You can spot this tank. You might be able to spot this tank. This is a good spotting position and sniping position, and it's good if you have a medium tank, a large tank, a tank with poor camo, a heavy tank, a tank that has a long reload, etc. This is the position that I play the most with my light tanks. From here, you can spot all the way out to here, and you're going to get all the great positions here, 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 here. You're going to be able to see tanks over here, but they're very difficult to shoot at. You're going to be able to spot tanks over here. So you got a lot of coverage from this position. And I'm going to draw the circle from here also, because I think you're going to want to play this position also, just so you can see what type of coverage you get, because there will be enemy tanks in this position. The tanks that have a long reload, auto loaders and derp guns, they're going to go over here, fire, and then they're going to go all the way back down here to reload, and you might be able to hit them. So in my opinion, this if you like to snipe and spot, and this if you like to just spot. This is the more dangerous position, and it requires more skill, better camo. You have to have an exit strategy, etc. So try this position first and try this position once you get better at the game. Now let's move on to the south spawn. I've identified here, 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 and here. Let's talk about this position first. We're going to go here, draw out the circle, and you're going to notice that you really don't spot very much. You're only going to spot tanks that show up over here and over here. You can't even, okay, so that's basically all you're going to get. And maybe tanks that try to run across, or tanks that pop over the hill here. It's not a very good position for spotting. Then there's this position here. You'll see a lot of tanks playing over here. You'll notice that from here, you cannot spot the snipers on the enemy side. You can spot up here. You're going to spot tanks up here. You might be able to spot a tank over here or over here, maybe something over here, maybe someone who tries to run across to here, but it's also not a very good spotting position. Then I selected this position. And the reason why I chose this position is because it's a sniping position. Oh, I did that wrong, sorry. Where you can snipe on tanks over here and tanks that cross over here. You've got a little bit of sniping that you can do, and if the enemy wins and they cross over to here, you can snipe over here. I've played this position, and in the lower tiers, you're going to get shots over here. In the higher tiers, it's going to be more difficult because tanks know not to go there. And you might get shots on tanks up in this area also. So this is a good sniping and spotting position if you play a medium tank or a heavy tank, or if you don't have good camo. I tried this position. We're going to measure this out. You're going to notice that this is a very poor spotting position. You might be able to spot a tank over here, but it's going to be more difficult. You might spot tanks up over here, but they're just going to pass by and your allies won't be able to shoot at them. You might be able to spot tanks over here, but again, your allies are too far away because your allies are going to be over here. And that's outside their range. They won't be able to shoot at those tanks. You'll be able to spot over here, but again, it's going to be outside the range of your snipers. So this spotting position is not very good, although it might be good in the late stage of an encounter mode, but we're not talking about encounter mode for this particular map at this time. So this is not a good position. You've got this sniping position here. I have to apologize. I don't know if I already spoke about this. I believe I did. Let's talk about this position. This position has pretty good coverage. This is the position that I play. You don't have to play this position. You can also play over here. So we're going to talk about this one too. We're going to measure it out to 445, which is out to here. From this position, you got a pretty good coverage of the map. This position, you have better coverage of the map. You can spot the tanks that show up over here. No, wait, that would be your allies. You can spot tanks up over here. You can spot any tanks that might be over here. You might get tanks up in this position. You might be able to spot these. It depends on the where you park, because over here there's trees in the way that might block you from spotting these tanks. And you might be able, and you'll be able to spot tanks over here. You'll be able to spot tanks that appear over here, tanks that appear over here. I frequently spot tanks over here. Anyone that tries to cross over, anyone that rushes down through here, you're going to miss coverage over here, but you might be able to spot tanks as they come up here. I don't think you can. You're going to miss this area from this position. But these tanks are going to be spotted anyway. And even if they're not spotted, this is a useless position. It's not a strategic position. So if the enemy is here, they really can't do anything. So this is what I recommend. Learn this position. It's hard to play. You're going to need good camo. You're going to need a small tank. If you're not ready to play this position, learn to play this position. Over here, you're well protected. If you get spotted, you can hide behind the hill. You can snipe from here. There's lots of good things about this position. You can play almost any tank here. Also, try this one if you want to learn this. There's bushes all over in this area. You can pick any bush you want. So try this one if you're just starting out and you want to do it in a field position. Don't do this position and don't do these. These are a complete waste of time. People are going to sit in these in the lower tiers, and it's a waste of time in the lower tiers as well as in the higher tiers. Okay, so to recap over here, I recommend this for spotting once you're an advanced player, or you could try one of these. I recommend this if you like to snipe. And over here, if you snipe over here, if you want to pass a spot over here, or some of these other positions. If you have any questions or comments, please post below.